Okay, here we go. Going on number 9. Okay, where did we leave off? Leave off. Okay, we left off with the phone stand, and it was a little janky. Don't love it. I think it was a little too big. It wasn't accurate. So what I did is I just want to start this tradition. I have my trusty, I don't know if you can see, I got my trusty Guar shirt on. I got two of them in different colors. I just realized that because I buy metal shirts and I don't remember what I bought. Anywho, so phone stand. Let's just switch over to the desktop. We're just gonna get balling right away. Okay. So I had these pictures taken. These are pictures of the phone stand I have. It's a little different than the one on Amazon. Okay, as you can see, it's only got one point of articulation. Also, the hole in the middle is just a little bit different. Okay. So if we just blast through the rest of these, it's minorly different, but we're gonna jump to this one. Okay. Sorry if you started the other one. There's like two people watching my channel, if that. So we're just gonna start over. We got some good, accurate pictures to start from. So I cleaned them up a little bit, and I took out the background. I just called it fixed, and I got these three good ones. All right, front, side, and then this other front one. Laid it on its back. Uh, just kind of punched out the background, and I thought these two I could use. So this one, or if I just jump to this guy, these are the three. I thought we could just use the left two. Okay, that's a front view and that's a side view, and we can kind of line it up and get from there. So when you're creating image planes, that's what we're doing. We're creating image planes. We're creating a model sheet in 2 dimensions with photos that we have before we go ahead and model them for accuracy. Okay, so close this guy. I'm gonna show you what I made in Photoshop real quick. I lined up these two because I think they line up pretty well. So make sure you go to view. Hopefully you have Photoshop. If you have Photoshop, that's probably going to help. Make sure you have rulers on. Control R, looks like the shortcut right there. And then how you add rulers is just click and drag down. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to find certain spots to line up. Okay, so the first spot to line up, I just want to go here under the cylinder. Okay, so like right, it's overlapping right there. And then another one, maybe the top of the cylinder. It's just kind of like a home base right there. And now, of course, it's not going to line up with the front cylinder. It's not going to line up with this cylinder right here. And the reason for that is because we have depth, right? So this part's poking out at us. This part's in the back. And now let's just add another one at the, oops, geez. Let's not get rid of that. And let's do this. Let's drag this down and kind of put it at the bottom, like right there. So now, I mean, it's kind of at the foot. This one's a little crooked. It's not perfect. But that's about the base here. And this is sticking out at the width. So these might not line up perfectly, but the idea is that maybe their halfway points would, kind of right halfway through there. It is not even, this isn't centered, but, the way we're going to model it, we're just going to do this vertically. So got that, and then we could probably put that in there. I mean, we could line up these circles, like at the bottom of these circles. So this circle here, that circle there. I mean, so what I'm saying, do this on oh, that one's not very good. The depth is off. Anyways, the depth, this comes at you, whatever. So try to line up, try to have a home area. This is going to be my nexus right here, this cylinder, since I think at these points they kind of line up. Okay, so we're going to minimize this. We don't need to come back to that. Let's start making image planes. Okay, so we'll zoom out of here. Let's back up. We need to make two planes. Okay, I exported those images front and side. They are 800 by 600. I can post them on my website when the time comes if you guys really want them. So I'm just gonna click and drag and make these here, and then I'm gonna put in exactly what they are. They are length. What is that? 600. I think it's 800 by 600. I don't know. Let's just put it in and then like snap it to the center. Okay. So let's zoom out a little bit here. And we need a front and a side. Okay. The pictures are taller than they are wide. So bring that up so you can see these again. So I got front taller than it is wide, taller than it is wide. So let's angle this up. So make sure you have your snapping tool so you go exactly 90 degrees. Like, there we go. And then just get rid of these. We're actually going to turn on edge faces again. I think that's really handy. So, if we did have, segments, we'd get rid of those. And now we need another one for the side because that's the front. And so let's do the side like that. So let's go 90 degrees. And we got the other one. Actually, let's go the other way because that is now, you can't, oops, geez, got shift held. Let's go the other way so it's not dark. Actually, it might still be dark. Nah, see, we got the normal is facing this way. Okay, so now we got that. What we could do, these are at 0. Are they at 0? I don't even think they're at 0. So let's make sure each one of them, yep, they're not at 0. So right click, they're the same size, put those spinners to 0. Make sure they're right at the center. You know what? What we're going to do first, let's open up the layer editor. Okay, so right now they're on the default layer, but if we're going to turn these on and off, we're going to want them on a separate layer. So we'll do that in just a sec. Let's add the photos to these real quick. So just make sure they're in, I mean, hopefully you set up a folder, or sorry, the directory, the project directory in 3D Studio Max. Again, that's up here, File, Project, and create a default project, and then make sure you save your images or drop your images under wherever you keep it saved, but under images. It's just easier to keep it organized. Okay, so let's drag these images onto the screen. We've got the dimensions. You can see they're 800 by 600 or 600 by 800, depending upon which Windows thinks is the right dimension. They're taller than they are wide, so it would be 6 by 8. So that makes sense. Okay, so grab front and let's drag it to the front one right there. So now we got that one. Let's do the same thing to the other one, side, and wham. Now, this one is off. Okay, what we can do is we could just move that over till it's like centered a little bit. It's not going to be perfect. Like I said, I took these pictures, or I had my wife take these pictures, and they've got depth in them. It's very hard to pull it out and get the right angles. So we're getting a lot closer than we are just grabbing an image off the internet, but it's going to take your artistic eye to get these things right. Okay, so I moved that one out. I'm going to grab both of these, and instead of, just making a new layer and adding them, just hit new layer here, right there. They're selected, so they're going to drop into that new layer. And you can see that because they're right there. So we could turn one off, the other. Let's just call this IP for image planes, or I like to, no, let's leave that. Okay. And then let's just create a new layer. This is where our, they dropped it in there. Let's call it image planes because that's weird. All right, image, or just images. It doesn't really matter as long as you know these are where the image planes are stored. Okay. Now remember, what we could do is we could just freeze these, but what happens when you freeze them? They disappear. Well, we handled that yesterday by selecting them, right-clicking them, and going to project or properties and click the show frozen in gray. Okay, so now we have that set. Now we can freeze them. Never going to see them again, or you're never going to see that gray again. But they are a little huge. So let's select it. Let's group it. And grouping it, let's make sure the axis, effect pivot, center to object. We want it center to the world. Yeah, let's just right click down here, put those spinners to 0. And now let's scale this guy down and kind of move it on the home grid. Okay, so you can see how big these pictures are compared to the home grid. It's a little ridiculous. So let's scale that guy down. And let's move it up. Maybe we'll zoom in a little bit here because it's a little far away. I apologize if my stuff's a little far away. Maybe center my rotate tool there. There we go. And now we could probably put it so it's on the ground a little bit, like right like that, just so the base kind of touches the ground. And it's good enough. We will use part of that angle to create some shapes here. Okay, so let's do this. We got these in. We could get rid of the group. See, there's a group in there now. We actually added the group to the other layer because we added a new layer. So let's put that group back in there. Doesn't matter. We're actually going to ungroup them anyways. So just ungroup, get rid of that group. And let's just freeze the items there. Okay, so now we can't select them. Let's make our first object, and then we will try to line it up. It's as easy as that, okay? So first, we're going to create a plane. It's going to be long, and it's going to be skinny. So let's go with plane, wherever it is, right there. And let's just drag, ooh, hot pink. There we go. Just drop it right there. Now let's make sure it's snug into 0. Now, if we want to see it in our other viewport, sometimes it's hard to see when we flip on. We don't want wireframe. So now we can't really see this. We could move it here, but you can't really see it in this bottom left viewport, right? So what we can do, just so we can see it, this isn't going to change anything. We're going to add edit poly first because we're going to edit it in a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a shell. And that's actually what we're going to do in the end. We're going to add the shell, but just so we can see it. Okay, so now we're going to line it up on the base. So we could go like halfway up right there. Just, like envision where the center is, right? And let's snug this up. So actually, let's make it big. Sorry about that. Let's snug it up to the base here. And then let's go into our editable poly and make sure this button is pressed so you can see what it looks like in the end. If you take it off, you can't see it now. Kind of sucks, right? Make sure that's on. All right, we're going to add an edge loop right here. So we click down the middle and you can see that selection here. We got both edges selected, that one and that one. So just select across. And now we're going to connect. And now it added an edge loop. You can see that edge loop right down the middle, right here. And actually, we're going to put it kind of at where this pivot is going to be. And we need to add it kind of at the end because we're gonna do something fancy. Okay. And now let's select this guy. Just select it. Don't do anything with it. Well, you could probably move it up here. But what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to put it in. Oops. Make sure you get that edge selected. Or you could just select the vertices up here, right? So just select that and go like this. And again, this is just so we can see it. Because we want to make sure that this lines up really well. And don't worry about the modifier, the shell modifier. We're just using this as an example so that we can see that we get the angle correct, okay? Because once we get the angle correct, we're just gonna ditch it. We're done with it. We'll add it on later, but we want to get the base shapes first. So I like that. That lines up good enough for me. Maybe this could, now that's about halfway. I'm looking at this as like halfway in the middle here. And that works for me. Okay, so now let's go back in this view. And this one's going to be a little tough. Okay, oop. Oh, we're centered. Okay, we're okay. We're okay. Thought we weren't centered in the middle. Are we centered? We're centered. It's just the picture's off because that center is off a little bit. Okay, so now let's do this. We're going to just widen the hell out of it. And we're going to try to get... So let's scale it up. We're actually going to chop some stuff off, so it's not going to be a big deal. We are going to press Alt-X. So on your keyboard, press Alt-X. And now it is transparent, okay? So we could turn the shell off now. We could actually just get rid of the shell. So now we just have these faces. Okay, so now let's move these faces in front a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. Just like that. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to create a cut that I can make symmetrically. So let's actually put one right down the middle. So select those. All the edges, you could click one and then say loop. Or is it ring? Yeah, ring. Sorry about that. And then you could just say connect, or you could add a edge loop in with your insert edge loop tool and just make sure it's centered. If you look right here, this is right in the middle. And now we're going to use the slice plane tool because the best way that we can get this tapered shape, one of the issues with this is it has a tapered shape. We don't want to like pull this in. So if we pulled this side in, oops, not like that. If we pulled this side in, let's and big in this. If we pulled this side in, we would have to do this one and then this one. And like, that's okay, but we're just eyeballing it. This edge doesn't stay straight. We want that edge to stay straight. So let's undo that. And we can get that effect with the slice plane tool. And we're just going to kind of eyeball it. So press the slice plane tool. Let's rotate this guy here like this. And let's move it over. And we are going to eyeball it. We're going to, because this isn't precise, but we're going to eyeball it. Oops, rotate. So this is your gizmo. You can we're going to rotate it this way a little bit. So notice how we have it pitching outward. And now it's going to cut that straight line. And, that looks pretty close, actually. I think that's what I wanted. Because I wanted this line to be straight. From there to there, I want it to be straight. And then we could just duplicate this side because we're going to do that anyways. We're going to use the symmetry modifier. But we just wanted that shape there. Okay. And we're going to actually have to move our picture over because we're not on the symmetry of the actual picture. So anyways, let's do that first. Let's select this one and select this one. Now, they're frozen. You shouldn't be able to select them, but you can select them because you're using the layer editor over here to select them. So I can't like click and drag in here and grab these, but I can select that one. And I could just right click the spinner so it goes back to 0. And I could do that to the other one. So it's back on the dividing line. I want to use the home grid. Sorry, I didn't get that straightened out there. I want to use that home grid. So I'm actually using the back side. So that's why it's off, because I should have flipped there, right? So anyways, I kind of just botched that. But I'm using the back side now. So if you want to line that up, we'll just put it right there. And forget about it. Okay, so let's go back to our object. Let's make that cut now. Sorry about that. I was using the back side. So this is the back. I should be on the front, but whatever. Okay, so let's go vertex, do the slice plane tool. Luckily, it's still in the same spot. That is cool. So now it's way out there. So let's move it in. And we're just going to cut this here. We're just going to call it. Because it's rotated out. I think if we take off that our snapping tool, I feel like it might go a little too far. Maybe like that. Again, totally eyeballing. I'm just kind of trying to do what I see on the picture. You can line it up with your eyesight here. Maybe it's still a little wide, but we could pull that in after the fact. So let's just go like that. All right, press slice. And now turn off that tool by just clicking the slice plane. Let's grab these vertices here. Let's just say goodbye to those. And then what we could do is, we could just ditch these and then just use the symmetry modifier, right? We could just drop it right down the middle. Symmetry. And flip the X, because I did it from the back, not the front. And there you go. Now we've got this base shape. Yes, it's a little tall, but if we go into that left side here, and then we add back our shell modifier, let's drop it back on top. It's looking pretty solid, okay? And we've got that straight line. Might be a little thick. If we go to the front here, let's do this. Let's get out a wireframe. Oh, yep, see? Let's move this over. We're a little... We could sneak that in a little bit. So let's go to vertices here. Grab those. Let's just pull it in a little bit. Look at that right there. Oops, let's grab those end ones. There we go. So we got the whole thing selected. We'll go right there. There we go. So we don't have edge faces. Let's turn that on here so we can see it. So now it looks like we need to make a cut here, but then we also need to round out the base. So this is an orthographic view, meaning it doesn't have any depth. Now, unfortunately, my photos have quite a bit of depth, so that kind of sucks. That's where we have to use our adept skill at eyeballing to kind of figure that out. So let's get rid of the shell modifier. We don't need that. Just using it once in a while. Okay, let's go into edges. And we will this time, let's select the edges across. And let's make sure we can see it here, right? And we're going to add an edge loop that goes straight across here and lines up with the halfway point. So let's do a connect with the options here. And then let's slide it up. So let's slide it up till about right. You can see it moving up. Come on, up. There we go. Right about. There we go. And we could even check the other dimension. See, it's not lining up in this viewport. So, geez, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because I couldn't get the depth out of this. But we're actually going to go there because that is poking towards us. Or should we go down here? Ah, God, this sucks. Let's just go right there. Ugh. Good enough. All right, let's snap. Let's get rid of those. And let's get this base shape knocked out. Okay, so now that we've got our base here, let's isolate selection. That's down here. Ah, see, that doesn't look as tall. Doesn't look tall enough. I feel like that side view is a little bit better. So let's just undo that. Let's go back. And see where it lines up in this view. Let's add a shell modifier here. How's it going? I am. So I'm going to look at the edge faces here. And let's see where that edge is. That edge is right there. It lines up really good with the height. So I think we're going to hold on to we're going to use the side view here. I just think that front one has a little bit too much depth, and we're not going to get the angle that we want. Yeah, it's kind of breaking down. Sorry about that. Okay. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that shell modifier for now. Let's bounce over to this view, and we'll get rid of those edge vertices at the top. Oops, got too many. Did it not slice that or connect that back in? Yeah, there we go. All right, so connect that back in. Okay. So let's delete that top one there. Okay, so now we need to create this rounded base right here. Okay. So what we'll do, it's not, see, we still need that just to see it in that, to see it in this viewport, we're going to need that. Okay. So we'll grab the edge and let's do one of these. Let's unisolate so we can see the thing in this dimension. And let's connect up this crazy looking chamfer so it rounds out the butt. So let's add a couple segments. Could go a little bit, maybe right there. Maybe let's add in a couple more segments because we want this to be nice and roundly. Ooh, that's way too many. Okay, so let's do that again. So we got one, and that's going to split to two. We want that. We want to keep it so there's a edge in the middle. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do that. One more. Okay, so we're going to go with 8. So press OK. So now we got this inside piece. Looks really good. We got a nice curvature to it, but taking off that shell modifier, this is what we got. Okay, so it looks pretty good. That's the beginning of this shape. Okay, that's kind of what we're going for here. Now, we need to worry about some of the rounded base of this guy, right? Because if we look in this top let's just look at some of the photos real quick. The base is rounded. You can see it right there. It's a little bit rounded at the end there. So it looks like we're going to have to drop in chamfer right on the edge. Where's a better photo of this? There we go, right here in the corner. See, it's kind of rounded. We need to add that rounded bit, and we also need to add that rounded bit up there too. Okay, so we could do it after the chamfer, or sorry, we could do it after the shell modifier, or we could just do it now. So let's see what it looks like now. So let's do chamfer. And let's just say 2 segments, and let's bring it up. So that looks okay. It's not phenomenal, but it's rounded out. I think it's good enough. And then let's just hold control and select this guy up here. That's too much. We're gonna have to do these separately. Okay, so let's just do this one here. Oops. Gotta move so I can select it. Let's just do this one here. Okay. And then let's grab this guy up here. Let's do a much smaller one. Okay. So let's move down like that. And let's take a look at the picture again. Let's see what that chamfer looks like. How rounded is that chamfer? What's a good picture of it? Maybe this one? It's very shallow. It's very shallow. So let's do this. Let's do a very shallow chamfer. That is way too much. Let's pull that down. Let's go like that. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Okay, now, symmetry modifier, looking good. We're going to get the same on both sides. So now, let's select this guy. Now let's add the shell modifier, okay? And now let's boost it up a little bit. So we're not going to go with outer. We're actually going to go with inner. Now, we want outer. If you look at what the shell modifier does, it takes anything that's one-dimensional. Let's just take a look at this edge. And then it adds depth to it. So we created this single plane, and now it's kind of like we're extruding it, right? But we're extruding it in its local normal of each polygon of that two-dimensional surface. So here we go. It looks pretty okay. And what I'm going to do is at the top here, it looks like in that picture. And so now that we've got the shell modifier, good, great. We're actually going to add an editable poly on top of this one. And we are going to build up from this spot right here, because at this spot, this is where we need to add the hinge, right? Yeah, that hinge is kind of an important spot. I don't want to extrude from right here. I could grab this face. All right, now it's these two actually, because I don't have a symmetry modifier. That symmetry modifier is at the bottom. So what we could do is we could pull that symmetry modifier up. But yeah, we're going to get that line in the middle. So we'd have to do more cleanup. So we're going to leave it like that. We're going to extrude those two faces. Okay, so we're going to grab this guy. Or actually, we're going to cut. Let's take a look at the top again. So how far? Ooh, geez, this is not stuff you want to see. Oh, God. Maybe I can cut that out. Jeez. Let's take a look at the top here. Okay, so we've got this bevel. It comes in, and then it extrudes up. So we're going to cut halfway. So let's cut halfway right here. Let's do a cut, or a connect rather. Maybe we'll move it over just a little bit, like right there. And now let's grab this face. And don't worry about the other side. We'll just duplicate, or we'll just symmetry modifier it again. Let's say extrude, and we'll extrude quite a bit, because it doesn't really matter. It's going in the direction of this normal. So it's not going straight up. If we shift drag that, so let's undo that. Let's say we shift drag this. This is going to be a bad decision because it's not going to line up anymore with that back. Oops. It's not going to line up with that back plane. Okay, see that? Like, oh, I want to get that lined up, but it's not going to be perfect, right? Because right there looks pretty janky. So let's undo that. Let's reselect that guy. Why is it still selected? There we go. Okay, and let's extrude that back to where we had it. And we could just do it using the drag here. And I'm happy with that. I mean, we could go further. We can always go further later. But what I'm going to do is add the cylinder to that so that when we finish this, we have that point of articulation. So let's create, actually, let's delete that other side real quick. Just blast it out. And we can symmetry it later. And we got some inside polygons we got to destroy. So let's get rid of that guy right there. And let's get rid of that guy. And let's just bring in a cylinder real quick. Like this, like this. And we're going to measure it up to this side. Okay, so let's bring this picture back. Let's rotate that cylinder. Make sure your snapping tool is on. Rotate it towards yourself. And that is 90. Nope, that's not 90. That's terrible. Let's do that again. Right, that's 90. You can see it lines up in all the dimensions. And so now let's bring it up to where we think that's going to go. So this cylinder kind of connects to this backside. Okay, so let's do this. We are going to snap our move tool, or sorry, we're going to snap our pivot to this back point. And then we're going to bevel it, or sorry, we're going to Boolean it to this object. We could cut it out or something like that. We could just merge it. That's fine too. But it's going to be a lot easier if we Boolean the object. Okay, so let's do this. Let's give it exactly 32 or 16. So let's look at 16 first. 16 sides. It's a multiple of 2. It just works really well. I think I want to go with 32 because I want to make sure it's really nice and round. It might be too many, but it's better to have too many than not enough, okay? So let's do this. Let's take out all the height segments. We don't need any of those. And we're going to move the pivot, effect pivot, turn on your snapping tool, and we're going to snap it to the back here. Right to that guy right there. Okay, now we're going to drag this up to here. We're going to leave it. Okay, now if we look at these two objects, we are going to envision them as one. Okay, so now it's a little off, right? I did it in the wrong dimension. So, oops. So let's just grab that guy, pull it over here. It doesn't really matter where. Let's embiggen this view. Let's focus on that guy. Let's zoom out a little bit. And so this is going to be our kind of the point of rotation that we have. Okay, so let's if it's too tall, we can always move it down. I think it's actually way too tall for what the picture looks like, right? Let's stop looking at my garbage here. Let's look at this. Okay, so looks like it's not up real high. So what we can do is let's go back to this guy and let's grab that top face. So let's grab that face right there. And now let's turn off snapping because we don't want that. And let's move it in the local normal of that polygon. Okay, right? So let's move it down. And let's grab this guy and let's snap it back to that spot. Ooh, we don't have our snap back on. Let's do that. And let's snap it back to that spot. Okay, now it's a little bit shorter. And I think that lines up a little bit better with the picture. Yeah, coming from the front, it might not be tall enough. Yeah, so maybe we went down too far. So let's undo that guy. Let's go back into the face. We turned our snapping tool on, so we gotta turn it back up. Let's just move it down a little bit, like right there. Okay, now let's grab this guy, turn the snap back on. Let's go like this. Okay, now to boolean some objects, and what we're going to do real quick is we're going to add an editable poly to this guy. Grab this face, snap it in. We'll do the same thing. We'll just move this guy in a little bit. I think it lines up kind of like a shoulder. So we'll just put it right there for now. This open side of our other model is a problem, okay? Because we can't boolean objects that aren't closed. So if we look at this whole side's open. Okay, so we're gonna go to the border selection, and we're just gonna cap it for now. It's not gonna look pretty. We're gonna cap it for now. Okay, and then we're gonna boolean these objects together because now that's closed, right? So what I can do is I can grab this, or I can grab this. I'm gonna add the boolean modifier, and then I'm just gonna union that. Okay. Now, those vertices add up or line up really nicely, the back ones, because I snapped them into place. And then the edge that I brought into the middle also lines up really nice. Oop, looks like I got some extras. What I can do now, add an editable poly on top of this. And I'm just going to get rid of these inside ones because we're just going to symmetry it over anyways. And I don't want these middle polygons kind of messing it up. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit. And of course, we're going to have to go through and do smoothing groups and stuff like that, so it's perfect. But a lot of the items are lined up pretty well to start. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm not going to complain with that. Let's do the symmetry modifier again. And we have it, we got to do the negative X. There we go. That is the front piece, or the bottom piece, the base piece. Okay. Now, the others is kind of a walk in the park, right? Because what do? We could do exactly what we did before, right? So let's take a look at those pictures real quick, especially from the side. Okay, so it looks like from that cylinder, we can just drop down an edge, curl it up, and we're almost done. Like, this is almost done. And then the next tutorial, we could just put some materials on it and call it a day. Okay, so let's just finish this up real quick. So we're gonna make another object, and you know what, let's say like we're super lazy, and let's just drop an editable poly on here, and let's just grab, like, what you can do is just grab pieces of things and start from there. Okay, so I'm going to grab that. I'm going to make it a new object. Okay, and I'm going to detach it. I should have detached it. So I actually cloned it to a separate element, but I meant to detach it because we're going to make it a separate object. Okay, so let's get out of that. And let's grab this guy. And what we're going to do is, I mean, this is a really stupid thing to do, I guess. Let's just grab all these vertices, do something stupid, like weld them all together to get rid of them. We could just do one of these. There we go. Now it's one. Oh, we're on our local. So let's change the local to world. And now let's just line these vertices up with each other to make a box. Okay, so make sure your snapping tool is on. And we'll just kind of look at it in all dimensions. So we need to snap this to this. We need to snap this to that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this to that. We're going to turn off our snapping tool. And this is going to be our vertical. Okay, so we're just going to go like this. And let's do this. Let's snap these. So let's grab all these. and let's snap them to the front polygon edge. So the one that's facing forward. It's really hard to see. It's this one right here. So let's turn the snap back on and let's just snap it to this front one right here. Okay, now when we connect the other piece, we'll pull this up to that middle vertex. It's not that one, it's that one right there. And what we can do is we'll bring this guy in. And the thing is, we need to bring it to about there. Let's see what that picture looked like. We don't want that again, not my crap. So the shoulder goes out to about there. So ours starts out here. So ours basically starts out just a little bit. So we can pull this guy out like that. And what we'll do is we'll actually pull this shoulder in, because this shoulder is going to be our, it's going to be what's connected to the other one. So what we could do here is grab this guy and shift control drag, just so we have this other piece, line it up right next to that one, select, put it to a new object, and then do what we did yesterday. We'll flip that around when the time comes. Let's get rid of this. There we go. And then this guy is our new piece. We just want to make sure that's solid so we can see it. And let's grab this one and let's do this guy. Actually, we got to flip this because the normal's facing the other way. These are just things I know because I've done it a bunch of times. But the normal will be flipped because it was facing out. Now it's facing in. Let's do this. Let's click and drag. So let's extrude it like so. Now we can bring it out to there. Now we can just give it a symmetry modifier if we want to. It's a little much. So we could bring in that symmetry to about there. Do an editable poly. And the selected edge, hold control and say remove. And there we go. So now we're going to bring up our front piece here. Now we're not going to connect these two because this new piece down here, what we're going to want to end up doing is dropping a shell modifier on it to give it some width again. Okay, so let's just knock out this last shape real quick. Looks like we gotta drop a line right down the middle. Oops, we got the wrong one selected. We need to grab this guy here. Let's just select, let's connect, or actually, yeah, let's connect, make sure it's in the middle. Yep, okay, it's in the middle. And we're going to go over to the side because if I remember right, that foot that comes off goes like down, forward, and up. So down, forward, and up. Now we can snap that so there's straight height, but I think it kind of goes forward. I don't think it goes like directly like that. And we will check it in that bottom viewport by just going here. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's make sure that shows back up. You can hide and show those whenever you want, but looks like mine isn't close enough. So let's do this. Let's bring these vertices down. We can see them, but it'd be easier if we just added a shell. And let's go, instead of outer, let's go in by 2. Because that's going to bring it in towards our cylinder there. Okay. And now, let's go back to these pieces here. Let's pull it down. About there. Let's pull this one down. These two down here to about there. should be the top right there. And what we'll end up doing is chamfering those bits. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe this is brought down just a smidge to line up with the open bit right there. And then maybe this comes up a little bit more. Something like that. Okay. So, with the shell, looks a little janky there. That might be something we have to do by hand. But it is something that needs to be beveled. So let's do that before we add the shell anyways. Okay, so let's go back into edges here. And let's go into the 3D viewport here. And let's just add some rounding. Let's get rid of the other stuff. Let's just round out these bottom edges here with a chamfer. Okay, so we can zoom in here, kind of get real nice and close and comfy. So let's hit this chamfer button, see what happens. So let's hit that guy, and let's just, probably 2 segments will be enough. Oops, 2, and then let's just drag it up. Now we could check it in the other viewport. It's a little tight. I think my little flappers might not be long enough. Yeah, I'm calling them flappers because mine's a little bit forward on that because of the depth. Mine's not perfect, like I said. It's close though. Let's do that. And that looks good. Okay, let's go back into edges. Let's go back into the 3D view. We'll isolate selection. Again, down here, it's this button. And now, let's hit chamfer again. And let's see where we are. Boom. Yeah, I like that. I think the little feeties, were those rounded? Let's just check the images here. My little footies, are those rounded at the tip of the footy? Yeah, they got a little bit of a rounded edge. So, of course, we can do that. So let's leave this in, like so. So let's leave that. Looks good. That's fine. Can always add some more later. Let's grab these 2 vertices at the end, and let's just chamfer them with 2 segments also. So let's go to chamfer. Let's go up. And those little footies look nice and rounded, right? Okay. So that's cool. All right, let's drop the chamfer, or sorry, the shell modifier. Let's turn it back on so we can see what it looks like. Let's get out of editable poly. And we could just press Alt-X to get out of that wireframe mode, right? And it's looking pretty good. Sorry, I burped there. Gas. Let's turn off these image planes for a sec, just so we can see the whole thing. Let's let this thing not be a ghost also. Alt-X. And now, what we got to do, we got some overlap, right? So this is bashing into that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an edge loop here. So let's do, actually, let's go into edge mode. Don't worry about your shell modifier. So let's do that. Let's do a connect. Let's move it up here. Oops, move the whole thing. We want to move the edge with the spinner here. Oops, we don't want that. We want to slide it up, sorry. Let's drop it like right there. And let's say okay. And let's move these 2 vertices. We're going to align with our kind of edge here. So turn on your snap. Let's zoom in because these need to line up with this piece that's going to rotate here, right? So let's grab one at a time. Snap it right to there. Let's do the same thing right to there. But now we've got this crappy little piece here, right? That's going to run in this polygon that's being shell modifier. We could turn that off, but that shell, look at that, it runs right into that. So what do you think we can do? We can just pop that out. Okay. Looks pretty good. Okay, so what we might want to do is bring this vertice into that and bring this one out to here. So it snaps right along that plane. So it looks like it's supposed to be there. Okay, and now let's just make sure these are lined up beautifully. I think they are. This one looks a little weird here. There we go. Let's just push it outward a little bit. I hope they all line up. Now what we can do, since we got the shell modifier, we're good to go. Let's go up here and let's add a Boolean. Okay. Let's add a Boolean, B-O-O. And let's do the union. Let's select this guy. And let's zoom out. What do we need to do? What do we got that's missing? We need a symmetry modifier, don't we? Symmetry. Boom. And of course, it's on the wrong axis, so let's hit flip. And I think I'm still not on the center axis there, because that's covering right there. You see, it's a little weird. So let's get into this guy. Mirror. And let's make sure. Oh, you know what? Is that it? Oh, I think our model isn't symmetrical right there. So we're doing good. It's that back piece. So we got to fix that back piece. That side looks a little bit longer than that side. So is my symmetry off? No. Let's just bash this right down the middle and get rid of everything. And we'll just add a new symmetry modifier. It's quicker. Symmetry. Flip. There we go. So I moved just the one side. And when you do that, you're not symmetrical anymore. So you kind of got to play the game. All right. So that looks pretty good. I think it's accurate. It's not exactly. I mean, if you did the proportions, it's going to look close. But that is my hot pink phone holder. Now, details, right? Details. Let's not look at that. That's what I was looking at on the internet. So we need to add these little rubber stoppers here and here and here. There's 4 of them. There's one for the base of the phone, one for the back of the phone. We need to add a material for whatever name you want to name your phone. But what did we forget? We forgot to punch out the hole in the back. Oh, that sucks. That does suck. So what we could do is we could just... There's a couple ways we could take care of that. We could just drill it out this way. It might be a little messy, but we could drill it out. Which I'm thinking we might do. We could just grab a polygon, line it up, punch it through, and then chamfer the edges. Or we could just backtrack. We could backtrack and divide out, or go back until it's one-dimensional. We could put that opening in there, which I should have done. I should have done the opening there, because that would have looked really nice. And then it would have been in there from the bottom. The thing is, when you model this way, you really want to get the details pounded out, and you don't want to do it by just, hey, I'm doing a lesson today. You really want to put a plan together before you just start making stuff. But I think that's the nice part about what I'm doing. I'm going to be honest. I think when you start modeling things, you're not always in the mind space of getting it perfect the first time. Like, you know, I'm not recording multiple versions of this and getting each click right and, oh, I can re-record this, because I don't care. Like, I'm employed. I do this all the time. I know that's crappy, but, you know, 3D modeling, I'm just going to go back to my face here. 3D modeling is not perfect. Like, there are a lot of learning, doing it the wrong way first. You know, we didn't even turn this into 4-sided polygons. We should have absolutely blast this into 4-sided polygons. It's the smart thing to do. If we're ever going to do something like this with this, like, I don't know if we're going to animate it or something. I don't think we're gonna. That's crazy. But if we wanted to, and we wanted to bend it in certain ways, like, we need to do some certain, what do you call it? Certain treatments to it. Make sure you have four-sided polygons. Make sure it's lined up perfectly. Make sure you get the cuts in there where you need to. Um, but we didn't do that, so that sucks. We will pick it up tomorrow. I think I've been going, 55 minutes. All right, we've been going for a while. Our next lesson, run out of breath here. It's been a long day. Our next lesson, I think what we're going to do is we'll add a new material. Let's go back to our awesome thing here. We will add a base material on the whole thing. We could collapse the stacks now, but we might go back and put those shapes in real quick. It won't take long. We've already got the base shape, and then we just have to reconnect it right here. That doesn't take real long. Explaining it while I'm doing it takes longer than doing it. I mean, you shouldn't be afraid to like delete something you already have the base surface of. Like, the hard work is done. The rounded out shape, it's already there. So we'll do materials. We'll add the little objects here, and then we will cut the hole in. Yeah, and we'll do that next time. So we'll have a nice finished piece by tomorrow. And I'm gonna get this viewport right here. Oh, let's do a render. What the hell? Bam. Let's see what this looks like. That always takes a sec. Like, what are you doing over there? There we go. And like I said, you could save this image and show your mom. Mom, I made a thing. It's awesome. I promise. Some random dude on the internet helped me make it. I promise he's not weird. No, he's totally weird. Let's call it here. Okay. So, yeah. Thanks again for watching if you stuck it out this long. My wife walked by. That's why there was a pause. It was kind of weird, but whatever. And then you saw what I was looking at. What was I looking at? Oh, yeah. I was looking at Trump news. Crazy. Crazy guy. Silly, crazy guy, that guy. Monster. Total monster. Anyways, I'm going to go. It's, we're 57 minutes. 57 minutes. That's like an hour-long class. Okay. So that's what we made. And now we're done. So, if you like what you saw, come back. If you didn't like what you saw, don't ever come back. Or come back on your deathbed. I don't know. Come back sometime. We're going to finish this up tomorrow. Or maybe Monday. I don't know. Probably tomorrow. It's Saturday or Sunday. I got nothing going on Sunday. I'm just making stuff. Just hanging out. Let me know. If there's something, if somebody happens to see this and they want to know how something's done, just holler. We'll blast through it together. You can send me a message, whatever you want. Hopefully I can help. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.